week
Sorry
week
about that.
3, Mahesh had the students flying drones, which got them super excited. In addition to that, we added some drones programming components to our AP computer science class. And so they actually, as the students learned the different programming languages in that class, what they'll then do is they will program the drones, like swarm drones or underwater drones. We've got bunches of all of them, to learn how to program effectively in those languages. So that's kind of what I do is I support and develop CTE programs, because after all, they are just the best programs, right? So I will pass that on to Dave.
Oh, you're muted, Dave.
My name is Dave Wall. I work for Los Monados College right now as the coordinator for our community and contract education program. My connection to drones, though, goes back to when the college decided to look into some non-credit programming. I helped create a couple of courses, this one and a couple of others. So basically stole everything that wasn't nailed down at all the community colleges around us that had drone programs, and kind of shepherded that through the college process and the state process for the certificates, et cetera, and did the hiring for the different positions, and got to know Jeffrey, which was super boon to the program. Now, and I'm not sure it's on the agenda, but my role having to do with drones is no longer about the programming or course outlines or record or things like that, but more if somebody wanted to fashion a drone orientation program for their employees, as we did with the campus PD recently, series of Saturdays, fee-based, not for credit, basically. And that could be expanded out to the public sometime if a person wanted to do Saturday drone classes and not commit themselves to a full semester. So happy to be here and keep up with what's going on with the drone program at the college.
Awesome, thanks. How about Mahesh?
Sure. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Mahesh Goswami. I'm the teacher. I'm teaching drones and game design class in Pittsburgh High School. This is kind of my third year, and then I love to what I'm doing. I'm teaching drones this year, and then students love it. They already tried how to fly the drones, and we have a lot of a new different kind of drones. Like we are able to program our drones. We have Tilo Edu drone, Tilo Simple drone, DJI drones. We are using programming languages like Java and Python and block coding. So since I have the freshmen to seniors, so based on like I started with the block coding, so they learn how to do simple stuff like we used in Scratch. So same thing, and then with the help of their code, they are going to fly. They are trying to fly outside by using the Drone Blocks app. And then even though now I'm able to figure out, they can program their code on their Chromebook, and then we are able to go and fly with the Chromebook as well.
Nice. That's impressive to hear that it can actually be deployed from a Chromebook also.
Yeah, it's like we bought this stuff. We bought this software. It comes with our drones, and then they send us a different kind of drone, so we are able to program. So it's like for beginners to seniors as well.
Awesome. Can't wait to learn more about that. Thank you for sharing.
No problem. Thank you.
I'm just going to go in the order that's on my screen here.
Sure.
I have Melina next.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Melina Rodriguez. I'm the program coordinator here in our Workforce and Economic Development office. I've been with the college now for about 15 and a half years. I totally second. I love CTE programs. So it's a pleasure being here with you all today.
Thank you very much. Okay, how about Dennis Franco?
Good afternoon, everybody. Just like had to look at the clock to make sure it was afternoon. I don't know why. My name is Dennis Franco. I'm the Dean of CTE and Workforce and Economic Development. been at the college now for about 2 years. I've worked pretty closely with Jeffrey over that time, and definitely interested in continuing to see how we can grow it.
Great. Thanks a lot. Bill Benkett? Oh, can't hear you, Bill. I'm not hearing anything. I don't know about you guys. I know you're not on mute, but how about we come back to you, Bill? Okay.
Test.
Oh, there you are. Okay. Okay.
Oh, that's
There
what that
you are.
button
Yep.
does.
Bluetooth enabled.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. So
Yeah.
good afternoon, everybody. I'm Bill Bankhead. I'm the Workforce and Economic Development Manager for Los Medanos College. So I'm responsible primarily for employer engagement, labor market analysis, and grant administration for our Perkins and Strong Workforce grants.
Great. Thanks so much for being here. Okay, I'm gonna try my best to get this right. Is it Akila? Akila Moore. Thank you. Welcome.
Hi, thank you. My name is Akila Moore, and I am the interim vice president of instruction. I was previously at LMC as dean of math and sciences, also over P-Tech, E-Tech programs and nursing. I was here 15 years, gone for 6, and I just returned back. So just popping in to say hello, put some faces to names and names to faces, and just hear what's going on with the drone program. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Thanks for being here. Appreciate it. All right. I see Catherine has popped in. Okay. And I see your note as well, Shireen Todd, the principal from Pittsburgh High School, will be joining us as well, correct? Okay. Okay. Well, why don't we do this? I think Catherine's on another call maybe. So for the interest of time, let me go ahead and share my screen really quickly and go over a couple little short slides that I have. And Catherine, if you wanted to jump in when you're available, just go ahead and unmute yourself and you can say a couple words. So today, let's go ahead and talk about what's been going on in our program. Move this over here. So the update for our fall 2023, this was our 5th semester. As mentioned, we have really grown as far as enrollment is concerned, pretty much up to our peak. The courses that we have, our basic drone piloting class, which is our in-person flying class, has a cap of 24 students. And this previous semester, we had almost a maximum enrollment. We did at first, and when the class started, and then a couple of people dropped out. But we ended our class with 22 out of 24 students enrolled in this course. So we've seen a steady incline of interest in the program and people enrolling. We were faced with some similar roadblocks like a lot of folks were, especially with face-to-face courses in the beginning. The COVID situation, made it really tough to even imagine what doing courses in person was like. But over time, we were able to overcome that. And so, interest has definitely increased and kind of reached our peak. We sent out, I think also some of the promotion was things that we had to kind of work on over the last several semesters. I would say, and I mentioned this to Bill last semester, of all the things that really helped increase our enrollment the most, anecdotally I'm speaking here, was an advertisement we sent out in I think it was Career magazine that goes out every summer or right before summer starts. And if I'm not correct about that, maybe Bill or Melina can correct me, but I had such an influx of emails from people in the surrounding area that were interested in taking these courses. And So that's we've kind of gone through some little experiments in seeing how to get the courses marketed. Also, too, just awareness in the college itself, and having more collaboration with people in the art department and journalism, et cetera, things like that. So I did a little survey this past semester of all of the students. I've had 90 something students with me over the last 5 semesters. And I asked a few questions. So I've been wanting to know, because we don't really have any real tracking system developed. But I wanted to know how many students have obtained their license, So, and it's a small sample size that actually responded, but I have, you can see it down in that graphic there. Almost 50% have said that they have obtained their license. And there's always 2 or 3 at the end of a semester that come to me at the end and say, hey, guess what? I passed, thanks so much for helping me get the license. And that's a major milestone. I mean, I think we can all agree that's the first step. I say on the first day of my class, if you want to be serious in the drone industry, number 1 step you have to get is your drone license, remote pilot license. So I think we're doing a good thing there. We're certainly getting people out in and ready to be out in the drone industry. And our basic drone piloting has given them the opportunity to actually develop the practical skills. As far as our fleet, just quick note, we're mostly flying, well, not mostly, all flying DJI equipment. We have first started with Mini 2 drones, and we have since shifted and updated all of our fleet into the Mini 3 drones, which is great. They have the little screens built in. There's more features. The students are able to essentially pick up these drones on day 1 of class, barring weathers or other things. But on the first day, every semester, I want students flying, even if it's for just half an hour, and really kind of break things in. So yeah, that's been pretty great to see students be out there and fly pretty much immediately. And yeah, it's been a really great experience every semester, seeing them progress over the course of 3 months. As far as the type of students, that's always interesting to me. I think you kind of have to understand your audience to know, how to make progress. And it's been pretty consistent every semester. I'll say the profile of students that come into our courses are returning students. And, they're there, second career or retired, coming back to get some training for a new career or a side job, or even just for a hobby. And we get some, I would say the majority, again, I don't have particular data on this, but I would say the majority of students that come in are have that type of profile. Some students come in that are on, Gen Z. Forgive me, I'm just barely millennial, so I've kind of forgot about all the rest of them. But I think the high school, or maybe it's even a different generation now, but just out of high school and a few years after, it's limited now, I would say, to be frank with everybody. It's not a lot of students that come in our courses, just being honest with everybody. And we certainly would like to see that increase. I think the potential is there. You're talking about technology. Who doesn't want to fly drones, especially young people, when they pick up a stick and automatically they're pretty much indoctrinated into automatically knowing how to fly. It's actually quite interesting to watch. It's all the Xbox and PlayStation experience, I think, with the thumbs. I grew up on that, and so it was something that's kind of natural to me. And when you see young people come in the courses, they are almost flying. I have to kind of taper their expectations from the get-go and say, we're not here for style points. Safety is a big concern here. But yeah, it'd be great to see more younger generation students come through our program. I do want to mention something here about what we have going on for spring, which I'm really excited about, and beyond. So part of my survey that I asked was, a proposal for students to give me some feedback about a third course we have on our catalog called Drone 14, which is applied drone piloting. And it's kind of a general term. You think, you know, where are you going to apply it to? And so I've kind of held back on offering this because of that particular reason right there. What exactly are we going to be teaching? You know, my experience outside of drones is in the mapping and surveying engineering world. That's what my formal degree is in, and it's kind of what I use drones for in my own personal experience. So I was thinking about it and asked my students, you know, if we had these particular applications, you can see them down here. Is there one of these that you would say, hey, like, I would really want the course to be focused on this? And the majority, as you see, picked the mapping and 3D models. Maybe they knew I was kind of biased in that realm. I don't know. But that works perfectly for what I'm used to teaching. I actually have a lot of curriculum already developed for that. But, you know, I was thinking about this over the course of the semester, and really I'm kind of just putting this out there for discussion when we get to that place. But what I'm kind of thinking about in the line of, you know, not just mapping specifically, but applying, say, mapping to these different industries. And how do we explore, say, inspections that might have a mapping element, but inspections for relating to real estate or relating to public safety applications or something like that, right? I think there's, you know, maybe 4 or 5, you know, the most commonly applied drone careers or industries out there. And again, that's something we can discuss here as well. But in my experience, it's okay. So how do you use the drones as tools in these types of situations? So some other things I'm excited about for that class is bringing in some guest lecture. I have a lot of connections in the industry, so I have somebody not 100% confirmed, but I have a friend that should be able to come out, and we have some funds set aside for them to do some guest lecture and do a demonstration with some of the latest technology from Skydio. But I put feedback suggestions, so you know that's where I'd like to hear from the group. If we want to stay on schedule, I did set aside some time if Shireen wants to say a couple things, maybe Shireen and Catherine and Todd. I don't know if you guys want to say a couple things about Pittsburgh, or if we want to kind of just start having discussions.
Jeffrey, I'm just excited. Dave, it's good to see you guys again. Hello, everybody. I'm just excited because, you know, any opportunity to articulate with, you know, the community college is awesome. And I think drones clearly is a, you know, an area that's up and coming, you know, whether we can create them into, you know, courses that are part of the continuum of allowing them to advance on, whether as a F or S, you know, a G, etc. And I know Jeff is certainly interested in moving beyond a certificate to something more. And we support that. Like I said, with Mahesh, you know, and the work that Shireen's done to get our drone program off the ground, you know, we're really excited. I mean, the potential is humongous. So we would love to partner with you. You guys are right down the street with us. So, you know, I'm interested. Yesterday, we had a meeting with early childhood education program because we have a dual enrollment program with them. And you know, these are the sorts of things I love. One is we have a number of kids, you know, out of 3,200 students here at this particular high school, you know, there's a good number that would be interested in taking additional classes at LMC. So to give them a taste to be able to, you know, articulate some of these, I think would be great. And even if it remains a certificate course, it's something that I believe a number of our kids would want to go on and complete.
Yeah, thank you for that. Totally agree with that sentiment. Shireen or anybody else?
Catherine, did you want to say anything?
No, just that I apologize. I know I heard you guys and I was on the phone with a teacher. I guess, and I missed the agenda. Again, I felt profusely apologize, but, you know, are we looking at dual enrollment? Are we looking at just articulation? Like in terms of for our own planning and on the table, are we just right now talking articulation from our current drones class to LMC?
Well, let me answer that question. So what Jeffrey and I, we've had a number of conversations, and we cannot articulate our drones class with the LMC drones class right now because their drones class is not for credit. So that is off the table until that changes. And honestly, as you know, we're all really into wanting the dual enrollment articulation for our students. And so I'm really hoping that at some point we could potentially change that or maybe add a 4-credit course. One of the things that we've also talked about, and Jeffrey, am I jumping ahead too far here?
No,
With the
no.
dual enrollment?
Let's open the door. Go for it.
Okay. All right. So one of the things we've also talked about, and I believe Mahesh, you've been involved in this too, to a certain extent, is that what we would really love to see is not only articulating our drones class that we currently have, but bringing in perhaps somebody like Jeffrey to come and do a dual enrollment class at a second level drones course. I know, you know, the community college system is pushing dual enrollment really hard, and we're all for it. And this would be a really great opportunity for our students. Mahesh is really getting them excited about drones, and I think helping them learn what they can do with it as a class would be super exciting, and giving them opportunities to use the different equipment that you can attach to drones for the different uses. So the possibilities are endless, but those are kind of the low hanging fruit, if you will, for how we can bridge this and truly make this a partnership with regards to the drones program.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And as Shireen mentioned, we've been having some discussions about this already. Anybody out on the LMC side want to come in or give any feedback about that?
I can comment. I don't know how useful it'll be. So I think that the challenge that we face is to move into a credit bearing program. We'll definitely, you know, we have very clear guidelines on how to establish new programs, and I think the challenge that we face with credit bearing is we have to really be able to demonstrate the employment needs and strong LMI. And I think the challenge, you all might be facing similar challenges, I don't know. The challenges that we've been facing is it's such a nascent field, if you will, that like getting the data can be challenging, and we're also finding that rather than there being like an employment avenue, there's multiple employment avenues. So there isn't really like, I mean, there are certainly, in fact, I think at one time we did have a company in one of our advisory groups that was strictly drone, but it's rare, right? Like it's mostly like, you know, PG&E and you know, law enforcement, things that it's an adjacent, it's like a skill versus a career. And so I think that's one of the challenges that we haven't really figured out how to navigate in terms of going credit bearing. I'm planning on this coming summer, I'll be attending the Curriculum Institute for community colleges down in Southern California. So I'm excited to go down there and see what I can learn about that transition point between non-credit versus credit bearing, and like what's the, you know, for me, like knowing what the trigger is, right? Like, okay, we've hit this landmark, now we know we're ready to go into the credit bearing world. I know there are a couple other community colleges that have drone, so that could be a starting point for us as well, like seeing what their statistics look like in terms of graduation and success rates. But yeah, so that's probably a long-winded, it's not to say that we will never get there, but I don't know that we're there today, is I guess my point.
And, you know, those are good points, Dennis. And I think, you know, one of the advantages to working together is that it's a natural pipeline. You know, we found that typically our students don't want to leave. And so having them, then go on to LMC, it not only will it help with the matriculation from Pittsburgh High School and even Black Diamond to LMC for the drones program, but also for other programs that are offered at LMC. Because, one of the things that I tell students when I'm talking to them about drones is where it really comes in for great use is when an employer is looking at two resumes of equally qualified people, and one person has the drones certification and the other doesn't, they will most likely lean towards the person with the drone certification, because that is an added skill that they don't even know they need yet. So to your point, Dennis, I totally agree. It is kind of an add-on as opposed to a full-time career. That said, we are in the process, of course, of preparing our students at both institutions for careers that we don't even know exist yet. So this is also part of, building that up for our students.
Yeah, Shireen, I want to add something like based on my knowledge, what they are learning, and a couple of students also ask about what kind of career they can choose when they go after the class. So as I mentioned, like for roofing inspection, a lot of people's using drones. Even you don't have to climb the ladder, just go fly the drones and you inspect the roof, and it's a good money, and it's less time consuming. And for real estate, as you guys mentioned, so real estate, when they are taking pictures or photography, like for the wedding shoots, or even PG&E or now these days, Amazon is trying to, use that drones to deliver the goods or deliver the stuff. It's a future industry for sure. And most of I have almost 65 to 70 students. No one want to leave the class, since they learned how to fly the drones in the first semester.
Nice, nice. And on the programming front, I'm kind of curious, are they encouraged or interested then in pursuing college courses that are related to computer science, or how does that, I mean, obviously it's cool, right? So that's that'll get them in the door. But again, I think that the discussion here is what happens after they learn how to fly, right? And that's kind of been the sticking point, like Dennis pointed out, is, as from a career perspective, where do we send these students?
Yeah, like the students I have, yeah, that's why we are looking the path, so they can go open their own businesses or find a job. As Shireen mentioned, if they have a certification for to how to fly the drones, it will be easier for them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I think, what you're offering too, as far as the programming side of things, that's completely foreign to me, outside of being able to write a couple lines of, very simple code, hello world stuff. But outside of that, I will never, and probably never will be a programmer. So seeing, I could program a drone to fly autonomously through the interface in DJI, and just understanding what that landscape is like is its own level of skills. But to program the code itself in something that's not kind of in a closed box, I think that has not only its own appeal for what the drone's going to do, but being able to actually go in and develop that is phenomenal. And that's something that I know we will not be able to, at least I will not be able to teach at LMC.
Mm-hmm.
So I think what I'm saying is, you're combining what you're doing plus, and Shireen and I have talked about this a little bit too, the drone application side. That's really where I'm coming from. Having all of that in as a complete package somewhat makes a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, I'm gonna ask Dave, because you were looking into this program from the very beginning. So anything that maybe you saw from those early days that, I don't know, kind of relates to what we're doing here. I know that you obviously, like you said, picking or stealing things from other colleges. I think you pointed it out. So
yeah, it still strikes me, some of the private training programs really talked about businesses coming in and skilling up employees that they have. Dennis really kind of mentioned it. Farmers, good example. Farmers, if they've got staff and they're doing things and they're maintenance and they got a crew and they assign somebody to figure out this drone thing. Now, more of them are using companies, big companies that supply all of the pesticides and the fertilizers and the support for the agricultural industry in the Far East County. And I'm still frustrated that we can't get some farmers in on this call. I spoke to them a month ago. I was at a meeting with a bunch of farmers and they were just all excited, but they're all pressed for time. So that's one place, that whole employer. I know you've had PG&E representatives here before. The companies that are actually developed to do that as a part of what they do. I think that's where most of the enrollments were, is what I was understanding. And the other part of it, and I don't even know if you want to do it because it really isn't so much career, with community education, community and contract education, there's the lifelong learning side, doing stuff for fun. A lot of community colleges, and as we grow our program, do the same thing. We have photography classes and sculpture classes and automotive maintenance, and it's just on a couple of Saturdays, and it's not a big deal, fee-based, not for credit, just developing hobby type stuff. Don't know if we've got staff that would even want to do that, but that's another avenue to get our drones in the air being useful. And some of those people might switch from hobby to part-time or full-time profession. I'm sure you're still able to make the conferences and things, a couple of that I went to, and I know you were there as well. I think when you were working for one of the private companies. There's so much going on to be able to sit there and watch where the program is going. I assume we still have that in the budget, or able to do that.
Of course, yeah. It's I think going to those shows, and there's not as many of them now. The industry is maturing. This is something that I've been telling my students over the last several years, and it's great to see. When I got in, drones was like stuff you put together from Radio Shack, and people saw the potential, and it was a lot of fun. And certainly the hobby side was a big driver of things. But it wasn't as easy to kind of break in. There was a lot of investment. The economy was different too, but there was a lot of VC in things like, Amazon was one of the early kind of big names to say, hey, we're going to deliver your packages with a drone. And that was supposed to be this, revolutionary thing, which I think that they can do it. It's just been more on the regulation side that's been holding them back for the most part. But yeah, that got a lot of hype and a lot of people were interested. But we did see, I can't remember what the specific term is, but it was kind of this line of, I know it's out there somewhere in the ethos. There was this hype going like this with the industry as far as time was concerned. Then things kind of peaked. And I'm talking, about 2015, 2016. Then things kind of went like this, right? Because people realized drones don't just solve every problem for everybody everywhere in the world.
What?
Yeah, I know, it's crazy, right? But for those that were able to hold on and could actually had maybe say a niche established or some kind of specific application, let's say, that they were specialized in, after the peak and the dip, we've kind of come to this place now. And I would say this is really from the last 3 to 4 years where things have kind of plateaued, not plateaued, but kind of gradually increased. I don't know, Mahesh, if you would agree, but I think that's a sign of the maturation of people kind of finding their lanes, industry, as far as industry is concerned. Also, too, as you've mentioned, Dave and Dennis, and I know Bill has looked into some of this stuff too. companies, a lot of companies now are doing the drone work in-house. So it's tricky to find, let's say, a quote unquote drone pilot position out there, but there certainly are PG&E linemen. Let's use the example, PG&E linemen that have drone pilot licenses. You know what I'm saying? So their title might be, you know, or their experience or their profession might be to fix, you know, power lines or cable lines, whatever they are, but they solely rely on, or they, you know, supplementally rely on drones for their inspections. The real estate, I think, is certainly a low hanging fruit. Agriculture, you know, those are types of things where you can break into somebody that's already an entrepreneur by nature, and they're, you know, using the drone as one of these tools to enhance their profile, enhance their job, and their work. And you're right, Dave, you certainly see that stuff at there's really two big conferences that happen every year. So law enforcement fire, yeah, I see your message, Shireen. Absolutely, law enforcement fire. As Dave mentioned, we did a private community education event for the law enforcement group at the district. So I think that you're right on track with that. And it's one of the things when I asked my students about the different applications, the next one on the list after mapping was law enforcement. And so, you know, what I've thought about with Drone 14 is, okay, well, we can do mapping, but we can do mapping for law enforcement. So they're getting drone experience, they're getting mapping experience or 3D experience, even if they don't even realize it. But it's kind of a specific use case. For these 2 to 3 weeks or month, we're going to focus on the law enforcement aspect. I'll bring in a law enforcement professional or somebody else that has experience in this, and let's set up a mock crime scene, and let's fly the drone around that crime scene, and let's take high resolution pictures, and let's model that and map that. And so there you go. Now you've got a real use case of a drone, you know, drones in being applied to some type of you know, industry.
And Jeffrey, I hope you'll tap into fire as well. We have a newly, you know, grown now that Contra Costa Fire is all of our service area. They weren't before, but they are now, and they've got some pretty strong resources. And if there aren't people at Con Fire that are flying drones, I'd be shocked. I have no doubt that they're there. Plus, CDF has still got a big presence in Contra Costa County. That becomes a state position. There's got to be some, especially today, as we're looking at areas that we're trying to predict some hazard areas. They got to be using drones just like crazy.
Yeah, let me ask. On that note, there's not a fire academy in the district, right? Are there? Dennis is shaking his head. There is. So am I?
Yes, there. In fact, I've been working on it very diligently over the past week.
Gotcha.
Fire Academy. We have a once a year Fire Academy. It meets it is held, I should say, in the spring semester. It used to be fall, but with all the, you know, California fire stuff that's been going on over the last few years, it shifted to spring because too many of our instructors were actually getting called out.
Gotcha.
During fire season. But anyway, I digress. So we do have a fire academy. The one thing that so to Dave's point about prevention, that might be the track, because I have talked with them at various times when I've been over there, and they don't do drone for firefighting, mostly because of, you know, because the application we were initially talking about was, and I think we talked about this a couple advisory board meetings ago, was like over the horizon for wildland fires. But because of all the aircraft that are deployed during wildland firefighting, drones can't be in the air for obvious reasons. You don't want a drone at low altitude when you're about to fly a Boeing 747 full of water over that same space, but possibly over prevention. You know, you could certainly look at trouble spots in terms of vegetation growth, getting close to power lines and that sort of thing. But the answer to the question, we definitely have a fire captain.
Yes. Okay. Well, there's a perfect opportunity right there to get involved, and maybe it's through the community ed, Dave, or something along the lines where there's some drone integration. I don't know, even just like with the police department, a lot of it was carryover curriculum from my basic drone piloting, and just kind of getting the sticks in these guys' hands and really getting them the experience itself.
Yeah, one of the things we're hoping to build out a little bit more is our corporate training leg of community education. That's part of what those offerings are via contract ed, the two are kind of the same. And that sort of marketing materials would definitely show off drone operations as something that the college has that can take out into the community for any employer or such. So we'll definitely, that's on the list of things to do this semester coming up. We have a lot of things on campus that we can send out into the community and then, bring people in for further education. It's a really kind of a win-win both sides.
Great. Okay.
One of the things that strikes me that might be informative as we think about what possible directions to go with the program would be to explore what kinds of other drone certifications are out there, right? Or where are places where we know that somebody might be flying a drone, but they're going to have some kind of a certification to do that. And I'm thinking of things like, if we want to really move into the law enforcement space, we would have to look at getting post certified.
Absolutely.
Right. I don't know if there is a similar kind of certification to be certified to fly for fire service, or for utilities, or if there are other third-party certifications for other uses. Does the Associated Press, say, have some kind of a certification or certificate or something that they offer for using drones for journalistic purposes? Things like that. And if we were to find that there were, some of those kinds of things, then we could start looking at, like, does that suggest a particular direction for the program to go?
Yeah, go ahead.
The other thing that when I've been talking to employers out there, one of the things that has come up, and this was talking with some folks out at the airports, is looking at maintenance and repair, and there being a high demand for that. But drones are still regulated as any other aircraft by the FAA in the maintenance and repair area. And so there's a lot of certification and regulation around that we would have to explore, but that would be one potential direction to consider.
Yeah, absolutely. Anybody else have any comments on that? Because I do have something that I wanted to share related to the certification side. So, Bill, I don't know if anybody else has heard about this, but there's something called, this has been around for a little while. I think you guys can see my screen, right? Okay, this is from the group AUVSI, and they're loosely considered in the drone industry, I guess, as the most relevant non-for-profit kind of drone advocate industry. They started out as a more military side, and they host one of the big conferences I was talking about, AVSI, every year, and they go to different locations. But they started very military heavy, but you go to the conference now, like this past year, and it's almost all civilian stuff. So they have certainly kind of tried to take precedent in this third party or not federal kind of certification. The license comes from the government, so that's clear cut. But as you mentioned, Bill, everything else is a bit still fragmented, and the thing that's also kind of a struggle in the drone industry, being that it's somewhat immature, is that standards are pretty loose and not well established, like what you would say maybe the automotive industry, et cetera. But relating to certification, this what's called Trusted Operator Program, or TOP, top certification, in my opinion, and also I say that anecdotally, but also from folks that I know, or folks that, like we talked about from PG&E and others that came to that, some of the previous advisory committees, they train in-house for this top. They train their pilots to be top certified. Let's see. So I can share this little link with everybody right now if you guys want. And I've thought about how to integrate this into our curriculum now, but I think what you mentioned, Bill, is like we would have to have more courses for doing this. It's not something that we could just offer within a couple weeks or even kind of build into basic drone piloting. It would be well beyond that. But it certainly is something that if we were to offer it, I do believe that we would get more industry, collaboration or interest in our program for really preparing our students for their job directly, and then they don't have to train them in-house. That makes sense. I see you're shaking your head a lot, Mahesh. Have you heard of this before?
Yeah, because I checked the UAV coach, for FFA 107 certification. That's why I'm just wondering, like, it's a great idea. I spoke to Shreen several times. Like, I don't have many students to get that license because we need over 16. So I have a lot of freshmen in my class. That's why I have 4 or 5 seniors or juniors. So I'm wondering, and then I'm trying to teach, and then I'm, so they know the rules and regulations. So at the beginning, the first semester, first week, they got their trust certification. So without trust certification, I really never allow them to fly because, some, rules and regulations. So, and they are almost 14 or 15 years old. But it will be a great idea if they have a F 107 license or, the drone pilot license. Any resources, if we can help them, then it will be a great opportunity for our students.
Yeah, and this is going the next level, right? So this is like more advanced training, I would say, or advanced certification. Have you heard of this one before, Dave?
No.
No? Okay. Yeah, so I'll just give a quick example through my PG&E connection, and the guys that I had on the last advisory, Cyberhawk, and they were saying they use the TOP. It has different levels of different tiers of certification. But essentially they use each one of these to evaluate how efficient or how qualified the pilot's going to be in high pressure situations. So when they're out there inspecting these, 240 kV lines in the woods in inclement weather, I mean, the margin of error is pretty small, and the TOP helps train people to be prepared for stuff like that. So there's a series of different equipment. So there's infrastructure that you would have, or equipment and infrastructure you would have to also invest in if this was something we were going to offer. But essentially what they're able to then train on over several months and getting these different levels of TOP, and this is again after they've gotten their Part 107 license, then they have the skills, even though even as TOP pilots, the training is not just ad hoc, go inspect transmission lines. There's kind of mock scenarios that they're put through to be ready to go out and do this. But from my understanding, it's something that can be adopted, and there are some community colleges like down in Fullerton. We had them at one of our advisories a couple of years ago. They're starting to offer TOP classes so that they're readying students for their industry partners. It makes it's the closest thing to what Bill was mentioning as far as a kind of next step. you know, if it's something that we're advancing, you know, students for and making them appealing for industry people. Okay. Let's see. So let me go back to my agenda.
And unfortunately, I have to step out for another meeting, but it was great seeing you all. Have a great rest of the afternoon.
Okay, Bill. Thanks for being here.
Thanks.
Appreciate it. So let's see. We talked a little bit already about potential collaboration, articulation, potential dual enrollment. I think we've established the non-credit versus credit bearing kind of barrier there, right? Let's call it for all intents and purpose. But you know, with that being said, the hurdle to get to that over that wall is more industry interest, right? So getting TOP maybe, maybe apprenticeships, internships. I'm trying to think of different things here. You know, we've certainly had discussions with a handful of people from the industry. It's just been hard to materialize that stuff directly. Yeah, go ahead, Dennis.
I was just going to go back to the last thing we were talking about real quick, and sorry if I missed the boat on that. How do we gain that top affiliation, for lack of a better word?
That's a great question. I'll be frank, I haven't really looked too far into it.
Oh, okay. Well, then why don't we table that and
Yeah.
and why don't we work on that in the spring?
Okay.
And maybe have an advisory board meeting, you know, sometime in the middle of the spring, and see if there's any employers that can help us out, or if we even need their help. Yeah, didn't mean to derail it. I just want to make sure I didn't lose that thought. Sorry about that.
Yeah, no, it's okay. I agree. I think it's completely relevant to the discussion. And if we're gonna kind of get to the stages we want as far as a partnership with the high school, we have to make some of these other steps forward too, right? And so something like TOP would definitely be a worthwhile investigation for us to explore more. I 100% agree on that one. So, oh yes, Shireen, go ahead.
So continuing on that route with the AU VSI, and the top thing is, I'm wondering if we can check out their industry connections and, you know, kind of using what they have on their website. And, you know, if we could go to a conference or something, find out who their partners are to get more ideas about what industries are, you know, using drones and actively wanting to pursue people who have drone certifications, you know, and use that as kind of a stepping stone to implementing a full-on top kind of a program.
100%. So they hold a conference every year in the spring, and this one is the one that they're holding this year is in April. So I'll send out some notes about that for everyone in the room, so you guys can look into it a little bit more. I'll probably attend just because I always attend this stuff anyways, but yeah, it's this coming April in San Diego. I think near the end of April is when they have a conference, and there will certainly be people from AAVSI directly, other industry and academia people that are involved in kind of developing and offering these top courses. So I would say if you're interested in kind of having some face-to-face time with people and maybe going to different sessions to hear more about what's involved with TOP, I think that's probably the best avenue as far as getting some, you know, real direct information.
Are there other organizations that are having drone conferences?
So not directly organizations. There's a large drone conference held every fall. So basically there's AVSI in the spring, and then in the fall there's a conference called Commercial UAV Expo, which is really more of it's held by an events it's not really held by an organization. It's just an events planning people. But that's kind of all in one get together of pretty much anybody that's involved in the drone industry, especially on the civilian side. AVSI still has some military components involved with it, but commercial UAV Expo in the fall, and that's usually in Las Vegas in September. That is, another really good place to go. But again, it's not as focused. If you go to AVSI, you can definitely kind of narrow down and say, I want to go to sessions for specifically top and this and that. While as commercial UAV is going to be kind of more the application side of things. You're going to see a lot of folks from industry, certainly, and demonstrating what they use drones for and how they're, deploying them. I don't know if there's as much of an academia component to it, but it's definitely a place to go to just if you want to just learn about the industry, what's going on, trends, companies that are popular, that kind of a thing. So have you been to any of these shows before, Mahesh?
Not really.
No. I think I saw you at one, Dave, right? Dave, didn't we?
Yeah, in Las Vegas.
Yeah, the commercial
expo.
Commercial EV Expo. Yeah, right.
Yeah, and that was pretty amazing. I mean, you had some governmental people up there, the heads of railway system and utilities, and talking about the future and the uses. Super exciting. I wanted to just extend sort of Shireen, I think, had a tremendous and good idea where you're out there and then connecting and building the network by letting people know that the program exists and who those employers are. And, we have, I don't know what, Dennis, 15, 16 CTE programs at the college. And in theory, all of them have annual advisory committee meetings, if not twice a year. And all of them, again, theoretically, have a whole bunch of employers that are coming in. I would think that you might be able to mine some of the contacts with those employers. I'm thinking, obviously, we talked about police, fire, EMS, even the nursing program. They have people that represent hospitals. Hospitals are moving body parts from place to place using drones. There's sort of an automatic collection of employers out there that, putting yourself, this is one of those things that you get to do, or Bill or somebody to attend these meetings and get on the agenda at the other advisory committee meetings to let them know that, by the way, we do have a drone program that's, growing and churning out pilots, and grow your folks there. I don't know why the struggle to get employers is just, it's there really for all programs, but for this as well, but they're sort of built in. I'm sure you could get yourself on the agenda at the next fire advisory committee meeting and talk to the training officers face to face about what they're doing or not doing.
Along those lines, we could tap into Earn and Learn and potentially do some kind of a survey / marketing piece where we're asking them how they use them or would like to use them and what kind of, I don't know, we could go into the questions we'd ask later, but I just thought, we have so many businesses. Like in Pittsburgh alone, there are 10 manufacturing companies and they use drones. There are 28 construction labor unions in the Bay Area, and they use drones. We've got all kinds of resources. It's probably just a matter of really diving into how we can reach out to those. And I know Earn and Learn has a big database of a lot of those, all of whom have signed up to be reached out to for the purposes of working with students. So that might be one way we could do some research into a direction to go. And sorry, one more thing. We how we got involved in drones at Pittsburgh High School is actually kind of an interesting story, and I'll make it short. We have an engineering program. In fact, we have several. And one time we decided to do an engineering industry meeting. I can't remember what we called it, but basically we invited engineers of all the different types. So mechanical, electrical, the whole 9 yards. And the one thing, one and only one that they all agreed on is, because we asked them, what should we be teaching our students? And they all said to fly drones. And that was the genesis for getting the K-12 Strong Workforce Grant to start this whole program. And so I think there's a lot of uses out there that we just don't even know about. Because if all of these engineers are saying they want people with drones, that begs the question, well, how many other industries are there that also would be interested in something along these lines?
Yeah, that's a really good point. You know, I mentioned the advisory committee meetings. Unfortunately, we don't have advisory committee meetings for our engineering department as not a CTE program, but certainly a conversation with our campus engineering staff and department chair and thoughts on drones. Jeffrey, you know that if there's 50 drone programs in community colleges in California, they're in 12 different departments. It might be computer science, it might be engineering, it might be journalism, and it might, in our case, be vocational education, which is, I think, the outlier, but that's where we are. But again, there's a whole bunch of people there that are training people for jobs as well that are not having any kind of a automatic opportunity to talk to you about drones because they don't have that as we think about an advisory committee meeting with an annual meeting and agenda to get together. And I think lastly, I wish Bill was here. You know, he's at the Chamber of Commerce meetings now. I hope he doesn't go to all of them because that's a lot of meetings and he lives a long ways away. But, you know, if you're a member of a chamber, when the little round table thing goes on, you get the opportunity as a representative of Los Panos College to talk about anything you want. I would hope he talks about drones. He probably does. Again, I wish he was here. Because there's all the employers, right? There's all the realtors, there's all of the people that would be interested in somebody in their office learning how to do that. I mean, you look at the real estate ads now, everybody's got a drone shot. Somebody's taking those shots. I don't know if it's the realtor or a company they hired, but that's how we would find out, right? Get there, ask the question, attend the meeting, and have an adult beverage and some hors d'oeuvres, and it's a nice evening.
Yeah, I 100% concur. I would love to attend something like that myself too. I'm very curious to see what the feedback would be like from those folks that are, you know, potentially.
Yeah, you might think about following up with him and seeing. I know he just joined Oakley. Oakley just started up again. Brentwood is a big dynamic chamber. And I'm sure that Antioch does too, and Pittsburgh probably does too. So I mean, you've automatically got an audience with nothing but employers.
Wow. Yeah. And it's something we've talked about too. It's just been, we haven't been able to land it yet, but you know, something also we've loosely discussed is getting one of these employers to use us as their training group, right, and fill the classes with their employees. That's something that makes a lot of sense. Whether it's PG&E or, you know, they're the big fish, right? But you know, kind of finding out the things as we're talking here, a lot of it's clicking, right? Finding out the things, the curriculum that they're using in-house. And you know, we actually mentioned it here before, adopting a lot of that into our program. You know, whether it's specifically for PG&E or whether it's community education, I think there's opportunities in different realms. Personally, I'd like to see it kind of be a growth of our program directly so that we can offer, you know, kind of like what they're doing in the logistics. I think how he's trained, how they're training people directly from these companies to come in and run forklifts. That's something that definitely makes a lot of sense. It's just a tough nut to crack.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, any action items I have down here for sure, the TOP investigation. I think that that's a really good avenue that we brought up for the spring. And I think that we're all excited about the potential for LMC and Pittsburgh. You know, there's certainly a lot about that makes sense. You know, some of the other hurdles we have to get through first on our side, but other action items you guys can think of, things to think about over the break, and then potentially work on or collaborate together with on the upcoming semester.
So I think the police academy, you mentioned post certification for
Right,
drone
right.
element. I don't know if it's in there at all. But I mean, that's another one of those in-house programs, you know, pursuing some of those in-house partnerships that are really, to me, I think it's low-hanging fruit. Whether it's
Absolutely.
the police academy, the fire academy, the EMT program.
Absolutely.
That in as far as action items that follow up with Bill about the chamber and the
Absolutely.
advisory committee meetings just here internally.
Okay.
You know, I was
Like
just looking
CTE.
at just doing some Googling, and LA County has a regional training center, and they offer a UAS course that is post certified. Meaning it you know, it would work for uh police academy. So it's something, you know, maybe to dig into a little bit. But yeah, just something I just came across. I'll put that in my put it in the chat.
Perfect. I'll ask Ed Santos on the LMC side. You guys know who I'm talking about. I'll ask him. He's a retired SFPD officer about some of this, because he used to do training for the police academy out in San Francisco. I'll ask him if he has any feedback on kind of how do we get post out here, right? Is it just adopting or applying through this maybe regional training center or something like that? I'm not sure what all the steps are to get something like that in our offering, but it would be great to have that. I think it makes a lot of sense. Okay, well, you know, I'm good to end this a little bit early if you guys are okay with that. As I mentioned, I had to cut this from being an in-person because I have to run to pick up my kids. But it's been great talking with everybody. I really appreciate all the feedback. If there's nothing else.
Just one more thing, Jeffrey. I just want to acknowledge all the hard work that you're putting in. For those of you that don't know, Jeffrey is adjunct. He's not a full-time faculty member here, but he busts his tail every semester to get enrollments up. He does workshops on campus out on in front of the over by the turnabout and whatnot to get students interested in drone. And he's just, you know, we have such a great cadre of adjunct instructors in CTE, and Jeffrey's one of them. So I just want to, you know, acknowledge that hard work.
Great.
Oh, Mr. Whitmire, I just wish it was that simple. Aquila would be the one that you would need to get to do that. No, I'm just put it on the spot. But yes, thank you very much, Jeffrey. And I think, Melina, this might be your last advisory board meeting in workforce development, yes? So a shout out to Melina. Melina is one of our great staff members in workforce and economic development. She's moving over to the student side of the house to commence her work as a student success coach for CTE students in January. And she's going to be, you know, she's still going to be on campus, and she's going to be doing great work with our students, but I'm going to miss having her in the office quite a bit, and as a member of this particular side of the team. So thanks, Melina, for corralling the faculty, helping them get these meetings going. It's been very helpful, and we'll miss you in this role.
Likewise, thank you. And it's always been a pleasure working with all of you and all the other faculty. And nope, I'll still be here on campus if you guys need anything. I'll just be more in the weeds with the students.
Well, Dennis, we appreciate your support as well. Just coming from the faculty perspective, I just wanted to add that note. And Melina, Dave, Shireen, everybody on the call here, I really appreciate your time. I know it's late in the semester and we're all getting ready to kick our feet up and have some eggnog. So I really do appreciate your time today. And we'll have some productive things to look forward to. And yeah, thanks for everything. We'll pick this up next semester.
All right, very good. Happy holidays, everyone.
Happy holidays, guys. Thanks a lot. Have a good day.
All right, take care, everyone. Bye.
Bye now.
Goodbye.